I imagine that as far as you're concerned, we've been talking a whole lot of rubbish so far. I'd like to hear your view on the subject.
I don't think we've been talking rubbish. I think there's been a lot of bad logic. But that's not quite the same thing. What the last argument comes to is saying the world is arranged as it is, therefore somebody arranged it. Now, this is a very poor argument because it could apply to however the world was arranged. I mean, all that you have said and all that I'm afraid the Bishop has said in a book which I also admired very much. I thought it was a very honest book and a very erudite book, I'm ready to say so. Nevertheless, all he was saying was there are these causes, there are these effects, and had the causes been different, the effects would have been different. Nobody's going to dispute this. What is totally lacking is any justification for the assumption that the world as it is was designed, and had the world been different, it would not have been designed. And in fact, saying it's all designed by God is not an explanation of anything at all. You're just saying, here I give up, but because, and in fact, because it is admitted this, so science goes no further, therefore we're going to bring old Noble Daddy to make us all feel cheerful. That won't do.
The reason why I'm interested in the natural sciences here is that so often you hear people saying the natural sciences have disproved God, or there's no reasonable basis for believing in God. I'm afraid Freddie Ayer's backing a loser here. I mean, it could just be a brute fact that human beings have evolved with their amazing capacities for relationship and for their experience of God is phony. It could just be true. It could be true that our intimations of morality have no ultimate sanction, that our experience of what is true and good and beautiful isn't a window into reality. But the simplest explanation of the lot, the simplest explanation in logic, is that there is a creator.
Right. There are many other ways of looking for God other than science, and some might actually say better ways. And most of the world's religions believe that God takes steps to reveal himself and reveal the world to us. And I'd like very much to hear from Mahur Krishnamurti, who is a Hindu who is actually sitting in the audience here tonight.
The Hinduism says very clearly, as far as the creation is concerned, it's not just God created the world and just left to itself. God himself became the beings, and the Hinduism strongly believes in God who creates, protects, and ultimately he dissolves. This is the belief of God, and the Hindus worship him with form and without form. The nature is the other face of God, and the Hindu strongly tries to describe the indescribable by worshipping him by various images.
Can I go to Ahamad Deedat to talk about the role of revelation?
You see, the Muslim believes that God Almighty, he reveals his messages in word form. And in that word form, this book, the Holy Quran, was revealed through the Holy Prophet Muhammad during the 23 years of his prophetic life. And it deals with these problems more directly instead of guessing. And God Almighty, he reasons with his creation by asking him questions. He said, now, how can you not believe in God? How can you not believe in him, seeing that you were non-existent and he brought you into being? And he will cause you to die, and he will bring you back to life again, and to him will be your return. So how can you not? In other words, the way you have been computerized, the way the Creator made you, you would naturally deflect towards God as the magnetic needle does towards north.
Can I just ask you whether your God is the same God as Hugh Montefiore is the bishop's?
It is the same God, except that in our concepts we differ. You see, the Archbishop, ultimately he will come to making Jesus Christ as God, a God incarnate. Now, the Muslim says, no, God is God and man is man.
Right, can I move on now? Philip Eden, as a Buddhist, what in fact do you feel about this? Because your concept of God is quite different.
Yes, well, as far as Buddhism is concerned, there is rather a different approach. We feel that there is a fundamental reality or truth or ground of being, which of course is in everything and behind everything. I think that many of the followers of theistic religions tend to believe that God is out there somewhere in the cosmos, and that it's necessary for human beings to try and somehow establish a relationship with him. As far as the Buddhist is concerned, that reality is everywhere and in everything. So that the task of the individual is to understand that reality in himself. And that is the methods that are developed in Buddhism to help somebody to come to that realization. We feel that the problem with a creator is that inevitably one must then ask the question, who created the creator? And that, of course, is endless. You can go on and on doing that. So somewhere you have to start with the first cause, and surely the first cause is the universe itself. Man is one way in which the universe experiences itself.
But your God is obviously very different then from Hugh Montefiore's God.
There's a point that Herman Bondi raised about, you know, the fact that many terrible things have been done in the name of religion, and I think it's perhaps important to point out that probably the reason for this is that people for a long time, I think particularly in the West, have had this concept, you know, I'm here and the truth is over there somewhere, and there is a narrow path that leads to that truth. If you have that concept, which I sort of think of as a fan-like concept, then inevitably, if you believe that you have found the right path, all the other paths are wrong, and your task is to force everyone onto that narrow path. Surely it would be so much better if we had this concept of the truth being, as it were, at the center of a circle. We are somewhere on that circumference, and there are many different paths that lead into that truth. And the thing for us to realize, I think, is that the particular path that we choose is very much a personal thing, and it depends on many different factors. It probably depends on the person that we have met that may have explained that path to us, and various experiences we've had. If only we realize, all right, this path for me is the right one at this particular time, but that does not invalidate the other paths.
But are you saying, therefore, that there's only one truth, that we only have one truth that we can actually listen to and experience?
There can only be one truth with a capital T, one reality. And I think the point is that all the great religions have been trying inadequately in their own way to point man towards that truth. But for heaven's sake, don't let's have this idea that there is only this one wretched, narrow path and that all the others are wrong.
All right, can I move the discussion on and say that we've dealt to some extent with revelation, but other people who are believers, and Hugh Montefiore has, if you like, supporters who don't only argue from design, would say that it's much more about experience and not about either design or revelation at all.
I hope he wouldn't.
And the experience, not Hugh Montefiore, other people would. And
Sorry.
the experience is God showing himself to us or us feeling him. And Eric Dell, you're an evangelist in the Church of England. Would you argue with that?
I think I would a bit, yes.
Yes.
Because I do believe that you cannot prove God scientifically. Science can only deal with the material of this current universe. God is necessarily not of this universe. He's superior and outside of it. So consequently, you can't prove him scientifically or disprove him. But of course you want to go much further than that. If there's a God who made me, I want to know who he is. I want to know what he's like. And of course we Christians believe that he's actually done that, said it for us in the person of Christ. And we also believe that he's alive today and we can know him. So that's what we're here to say, and that anybody can actually say, go beyond just the evidence, whether it's for or against, and say, God, if you're really there, I want to know you, because I'm prepared to know the truth, whatever it costs me.
Right, Hugh Montefiore.
I do actually think that religious experience is a very important pointer. And in my book, I say it's the convergence of, as I see it, science showing us we're not just random products, probably not just random products, and conscience, and experience. I mean, why is it that between 30 and 60% of people, even in this secular country, lay claim to some form of religious experience?
Pretty Eric.
And one point I'm continually making is that the postulation of God explains nothing whatsoever, because it is consistent with anything that happens. And of course it's consistent with people having religious experience, I mean, or not having it, or because it's consistent with people who say consciousness is implanted. I mean, equally well you can say that sadism is implanted. I mean, whatever is, but you've got to explain in some way that it would have been otherwise if there had not been a creator. And this is what is totally missing. Any kind of